In today's video, I am going to show you how to create a die cut for this stairway that's in the Hero Arts November 2019 kit. This kit comes with dies for almost everything on the stamp set, except for it does not come with a die for the stairway. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Brother ScanNCut software and ScanNCut to cut out a die for this. And so let's begin. Okay, and I've taped my cardstock down on my ScanNCut mat. And I will go ahead and load the mat. And I will scan, direct cut, and I am going to send it over the internet. And then I will start. Okay, now I will click OK. I am not going to unload my mat. I'm going to go to my ScanNCut Canvas software now. Okay, now I'm going to come over here to Trace Image Tracing, and we're going to select an image from Scanned by Your Machine. And I know this is not going to do a good image tracing because the outline is not a completely enclosed outline. So I'm just going to click OK. I'm going to come over here to my layers view, and every shape it found except for the image, I'm going to select all those and hit my delete key and delete them. So all I've got here is my scanned image from my ScanNCut. So I'm going to zoom in around it. And now I'm going to manually draw the outline, and so I am going to use my path tool. And on this path tool, I am just going to draw kind of roughly following the outside outline. Now, if you click too close together, you're going to accidentally close or end your cut line. So you want to make sure as you're clicking your mouse button that the next point is far enough away from the last one that it doesn't think you're trying to close your cut line. And so I'm just coming around here and just clicking my left mouse button to make an outline. Whoops. And as you see here, I accidentally closed it. And so I'm going to zoom in at this area where I accidentally closed it. And I'm going to come up here to my select tool. And for the rest of it, I'm just going to click on that last point, and I'm going to add a point. So you click on the last point and add a point. And it adds a point between that last point and the previous point. So this is the new point right here. And so I'm going to click the last point and then reposition the original. If I want to add another point to help refine this curve, then I can do that. It's just before you add a point, make sure that whatever point you're wanting to add a point behind it, that is the one that's selected. So I'll add another point, click and drag that last one to where I want it to be, add another point, click and drag, click that last one, add a point, drag the last one to the next position, and then I'll just continue this until I have completed my outline. Okay, now, even though it looks like it's made one cut, you'll notice here that these two lines have not actually connected to each other. So in order to connect those two lines together, we need to select our cut lines and then select Close Outline. And then you'll see it actually close the outline. So now, this is just one continual outline. And if we were to untoggle the image, you can see this is the outline. Now, if we want to refine it, let's go ahead and zoom like around this ball. I don't like how that's drawn. So I'm going to click on it until I get into Edit View. And then I can move these pieces. If I want to add some points, I can to help refine that. And add a point here to help refine that. And so this way I can make sure that this outline is drawn exactly the way I'd like it to be, just by adding points and dragging to make it a little bit better. And so now you can see, if I toggle off the image, this is what the outline of the staircase looks like. Now I'll do the same thing with these banisters. And let me zoom in. In between the banisters, I'm going to go back to my path tool. And I am going to just click my left mouse button to draw around, trying to be careful that I don't accidentally close my path, or end my path, I should say. So that I can complete this without having to manually add like I did before. And so now you see that one I was able to do without accidentally closing my path. That one I accidentally ended. So let's zoom in on it and click on that last point, and I'll add a point. Click it down, I'll add the point. And then, very important, you need to close the outline. And then we'll have one more to do here. Now, any place that I want to refine, all I need to do is click until I get into point edit mode. And any of these points that I'm not satisfied with, I can move them or add points. Like, say I'm not satisfied with this, or I'm not satisfied with this. This way, just refine them all until I get them positioned the way I want. And let's zoom out. And so now, if we toggle off the image, here you see we have our die cut with the openings for the banister. Now, if you just wanted to cut out your stamped image now without an outline around it, you could send this back to your ScanNCut and cut. You would do that by selecting everything, come up to Layer and Group, and then you would go File, Transfer FCM File via the Internet, and then you'd go to your ScanNCut, provided you haven't unloaded your mat, and you could cut out your stamped image at this point. Now, if we want to have an outline around it like a die cut would do, we'll ungroup it first, And we'll work with our outside outline first, which is just this part. And so we'll come to Edit. We'll come down here to Offset, and let's set it to 0.04, and we want it to go outward. We want to delete the original line and then click OK. And so now you can see our outline is out by 0.04. If you wanted to do it, have a little bit more of white space, you could have done 0.08. Now for our inner ones, we'll just select all of those. These are in between the banisters. And we'll select them all, come up to Edit, Offset. This time we want to go inward, deleting the original line, and we'll click OK. And so now you see here that we have our outline. Let's select our outside shape too. And so you can see your stamped image. One thing we probably would want to do, because looking at some of these, the way this is really close together, that probably would not die cut very well. And so we have a couple of options. First of all, let's ungroup everything. And we will go into edit mode for this particular one here. And let's maybe spread this out a little bit. And let's delete some of these lines so that we don't have quite so many. And then separate these out. And I'll delete some of these lines to make it a little easier to move these things around. And so I think this will cut out a little better like that if the lines are too short. And then up here, this small thing right here is not going to cut very well. So I will select it and just hit my delete key to get rid of it. And so everything else looks like it's okay. So I'm going to set my zoom back to 100. I'm going to select everything, layer and group. And now we can go File, Transfer via the internet. And now we can go to the ScanNCut and cut out our stamped image with an outline. Okay, now we're back to the ScanNCut. So I am going to click this icon right there to load it from Canvas. And there we have it. Click OK. I'm going to select Cut. Make sure that my half cut is off, that my pressure is set to auto, and then I will just press Start. Okay, and now I will unload my mat. And we'll see how it turned out. And there is our final cut piece. Next, I'll show you how to cut out first and then stamp. Now that we've gone through all this trouble of outlining this stamp, there is a way that we can save this cut file and use it the next time we want to stamp out this stairway and cut it out with our ScanNCut without having to go through all this hassle that we just did. And to do that, all we have to do is save the file. And we could call this Hero Arts November 19 Stairway, 0.04 offset. So the next time you want to cut it out, you would actually cut out the die cut first. So we would open this file that we just saved, and then you would just transfer this file via the internet, and you put a blank piece of cardstock onto your ScanNCut and cut it out. And so I'll show you how to do all that. Okay, now I've got some cardstock taped to my ScanNCut cutting mat. I'm going to go ahead and load. Okay, now I'm going to actually go home now, and I'm going to retrieve data. And let's zoom this in so you can see. So from the home, I'm going to retrieve data and retrieve from the internet. And I'm also going to scan in the background. Okay, next I will place my cut file somewhere on the paper and click OK, and I want to cut. Again, make sure that the half cut is off and my pressure is set to auto, and then start. Okay, and now we will remove our die cut, and you want to be careful with the negative space also, because we're going to use it. The die cut. So the next time you need a die cut of the stairway, all you have to do now is take the file you created in the CanvasWorkspace and cut it out on your ScanNCut. Now in this case, I'm going to use the negative space. I'm going to put a piece of printer paper in here, just a scrap paper. And then I'm going to put the negative space in here. And then I will take my stamp and I will just roughly place it here within the negative space. Make sure everything is in the corner. And then ink it with the ink that you are going to want to use. And I'm going to stamp it on the scratch paper first. And then now, based on the stamping in the negative space, I'll zoom it in so you can see. Any modification that I want to do, I just move my negative space so that it's positioned the way I want it to be. I want to make sure my printer paper is still in the corner, so I've only moved my negative space here. Then I shall put the die cut into the cut space. Then I'll ink up my stamp and stamp it on the die cut. And if I want to stamp it again, I'll just put it back in there. And stamp it again. And here you have your die-cut staircase using your ScanNCut and stamping platform. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!